So when you first walk in this particular building, what you're going to see is you're going to see bright, open spaces, clean floors. When they say it's a new age here within this building, it truly is. Culture here at E.J. Brown is about keeping it consistent, about keeping it simple, and about students. How do we get students from where they are now to where we need them to be? So about being in those hallways, building those relationships, those positive relationships with students, knowing their names, and just building that bond, believing in it. Keep it simple, keep it consistent, keep it all about skill. That's why we're here at E.J. Brown.
This year, we have a very strong administration team, and we have very clear expectations, not only for the students, but also for the teachers. So that consistency is really strong this year, and I see that growing as we keep moving forward. I love challenging the students. So I teach science, and for me, it's more about teaching them to think more than like the content. So really getting them to understand what's happening around them, and then be able to use that in situations that they might get into outside of the school. We've been changing the expectations and honing more into academics around the students, and then we've also been bringing in more community pieces. We've had some change over the years, but the last couple years they've stayed the same, and we're growing more community base.
As a security resource officer here, my main job is student safety. I also am somewhat of a counselor or a mediator to the students. A lot of them come and talk to me, and we try to figure out solutions together to make things better, because if things outside of school are affecting you, then you're not going to be able to get a proper education. I believe that building a relationship with these students is the key to them advancing educationally as well as socially. E.J. Brown is the best middle school because we have the best sports teams, we have the best teachers, we have the best SRO team in the district, we have the best principal in the district. So if you want to be the best, you should come to E.J. Brown.
I think students should go here because it gives them a better mindset. The biggest difference between elementary and middle school is the moving around, but it really wasn't that hard to get used to. The way to be a Bruin is to follow the Bruin Bees. Be respectful, be responsible, be safe, and be reasonable.
All right, guys, it is 5:30. Let's call this meeting to order. Our first order of business is to appoint a president pro temp. Hold on, we gotta wait for, it's only 4 of us right now, so. I'd like to recommend Board Member Lacy serve as the president pro temp. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Is this a voting one or no? I think we should vote because technically I can't appoint you. Okay. Can we have a roll call, please? Yes.
Mr. Smith,
is not sworn in yet. Just 4 of us.
Oh, okay. Ms. Wick? Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Reiner?
Yes.
Mr. Lacy?
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin?
Yes. And Mr. Nichols, since he's down there.
Do you count it?
It's an honorary one. He's
Okay.
here.
Mr. Nichols? Okay. 5 yeses.
Here we go. All right.
And then first, shall we commence with the swearing in?
Don't we have to do the Pledge of Allegiance first? And roll
We
call?
could do that.
Yeah. Roll call. Oh.
We'll call the roll after the swearing in. Do we have an order for the swearing in? Mr. Bailey, could you rise and come forward? You'll go to the mic if you would, please. Could you please introduce the officiating?
This is Judge Deirdre Logan.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Would you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Dr. William E. Bailey,
I, Dr. William E. Bailey,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States of America
and the laws of the United States of America
and the Constitution and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution and the state and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of a member of the Board of Education of the City of Dayton City School District. Let me back up, okay? Discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
of a member
of a member
of the Board of
of
Education
the Board of Education
of the Dayton, Ohio City School District,
of the Dayton, Ohio City School District,
Montgomery County,
Montgomery County,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
and in accordance
in accordance
with the laws
with the laws
now in effect,
now in effect,
hereafter,
hereafter,
to the enactment
to the enactment
during my continuance in office.
during my continuance in office.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Will Mr. Will Smith please rise? Officiating will be Treasurer Obraha.
I, state your name,
I, William Smith III,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution and the laws
the Constitution and the laws
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and the laws of the state of Ohio,
and the laws of the state of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of a member
of the office of a member
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
of the Dayton City School District,
of the Dayton City School District,
Montgomery County, Ohio,
Montgomery County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
and in accordance
in
with
accordance with
the laws
the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter
and hereafter
to be enacted
to be enacted
duly
duly
my constituents
my constitution
in office.
in office.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Eric Walker. Mr. Walker, could you please introduce your officiator?
The Honorable Judge Gerald Parker.
Thank you.
You raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Eric D. Walker,
I, Eric D. Walker,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States of America
and the laws of the United States of America
and the Constitution and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
of a member of the Board of Education
of a member of the Board of Education
of the Dayton City School District,
of the Dayton City School District,
Montgomery County, Ohio,
Montgomery County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
and in accordance with the laws
and in accordance with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereby to be enacted
and hereby to be enacted
during my continuance in office.
during my continuance in office.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Now, before we proceed with the newly sworn-in board members, would you like to introduce your family and special guests, if that's okay? We take a minute for that?
Take pictures too,
Huh?
if they want to take pictures.
I didn't hear what she
I
said.
said if they wanted to take pictures as well.
Or take, yes, that's true.
Do you guys want to take pictures with people? They all came to do this with you. This is where you go down there.
Oh, so are we doing a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break so people
That
can
works.
take some pictures and enjoy
That
this
sounds
this
good.
celebratory moment.
All right.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Lawrence, Interim Superintendent of Dayton Public Schools. It's really good to be here with you today. This is my first address to the entire school community, writ large. I think it's a convocation.
4.
So the academic team works closely with my other communities to develop an academic. Now this is important for the entire education. We
I mean, there's a nice backdrop here with the flags. Come on up.
That means we all should be saying first thing we'll talk about is coaching. Also, focus on
Hi, I'm Gerard Miller, a scholar and leader at Pony CTC. Parents and students, did you know that College Porter Press is a program that students say For more information, students should talk to their high school guidance counselor. And now, this is a case you missed it. What's that? Beaver Elementary receives a $10,000 donation along with a donation from Shoes for the Shoes. Shoes for the Shoe is provided a new pair of shoes for every student needs it. Thanks to everyone for this support. This has been very
Does everybody else know that? Does everybody else know your
Interim Superintendent Dr. David and Hall of Fame athletes such as Keith Byers and Morris Cole. Students also enjoyed smiling competitions. Thank you to all the blessings that make this event.
It's fast. Okay. How's that the water, man? You gotta bring it back or go forever.
So the academic team works closely with Learn to Aim, for Omega CDC, other communities in the NAACP to develop an academic action. Now this is important for the entire state.
All right, we are wrapping up. If you guys can get your last couple pictures because we have to get started again.
These steps include culture and climate, improving third grade reading, high school readiness,
Let's go.
freshman success, and college preparation. That's it for this episode of Pushing Listening. Catch us next time for more district highlights and follow us
Mr.
on
Bailey?
social media to get the most up-to-date information from Newsday Festival. I'm Gerard Murray, and remember, I always say the decisions I make, I live with. There's always ways you can be Redskins or ways you can do it better. At the end of the day, I live with it. Quote from LeBron James.
Madam Treasurer, may we have a roll call?
Hi, my name is
Mr. Smith. Ms. Wick.
Present.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Present.
Mr. Lacey.
Here.
Mr. Bailey.
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Present.
Dr. Goodwin.
Here.
Mr. Nichols. 8 present.
Does Mr. Nichols' mic work? Okay.
Okay, having already pledged the allegiance, we will now proceed with the call for the nominations of officers. So the floor is open for any nomination for officer of the Dayton Board of Education.
I nominate Will Smith as president.
Mr. Smith, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, sir.
Are there any other nominations? Going once, going twice. Nominations are closed. Being one nomination, I'll accept a motion to vote on the one nomination.
I move
as
that we
president.
vote on the nomination of Mr. Will Smith as president.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Treasurer, may we have a roll call?
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Wick.
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
No.
Mr. Lacey.
Yes.
Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Abstain.
Dr. Goodwin.
Yes.
Five yeses, 1 abstain, 1 no.
Mr. Smith, you're elected president of the Dayton Board of Education. Congratulations. And now I would say he should proceed, or, yeah, you can proceed with the gavel. I would hand you the gavel, but I see it's already there.
Are there nominations for vice president? I would like to nominate Ms. Wick. Ms. Wick, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Are there any other nominations? As Mr. Lacey says, going once, going twice. Seeing that there are no other nominations, I will entertain a motion to vote on the one nominee that we have.
I move that we vote on the vice president.
I'll second.
It's been first and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Wick.
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
No.
Mr. Lacey.
Yes.
Mr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin.
Yes.
6 yeses, 1 no.
Mrs. Wick, you are now the vice president for this school year. Congratulations. And finally, I will ask for a board member to volunteer to serve as the parliamentarian for 2024. As this is an honorary position, a vote is not necessary. Should more than one board member express interest, the board will decide by consensus. Are there any volunteers to serve as parliamentarian this year?
I'll do it. No one else jumped out there. Seems like people actually backed up from the mic a little bit.
All right, so Dr. Goodwin will serve as our parliamentarian. Is there no one else that would like to put their name out there? So, appreciate you being our parliamentarian, Dr. Goodwin.
Oath for
Yeah.
office. You have to go take the oath.
I know.
Both of you, actually.
Yeah. Who is going to official?
You got it.
I state your name.
William Lewis Smith III.
Do solemnly affirm
Do solemnly affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution and the laws
the Constitution and the laws
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and Constitution
and the Constitution
and the laws of the state of Ohio,
and the laws of the state of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge
discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of the President
of the President
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
of the Dayton City School District,
of the Dayton City School District,
Montgomery County,
Montgomery County,
Ohio,
Ohio,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and in accordance
and in accordance
with the laws
with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter
and hereafter
to be enacted
to be enacted
during my continuance
during
in
my
office.
continuance in office.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America and the Constitution and the laws of the states of Ohio, and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of the office of the Vice President of the Board of Education of the Dayton City School District, Montgomery County, Ohio, to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during my continuance in office. Thank you. Congratulations.
All right, and at this time, we will now change the seating on the dais. There's
Okay.
It's a great change, appreciate it.
quick shift, quick shift. All right. Moving on with our organizational meeting. If we look on the agenda, I will accept a motion for approval of the following resolutions.
So moved. We're doing A or all of them together?
We can do, that was what I was about to say, we can do A through G if we would like, or if we would like to separate them, that would be fine as well.
All right. I take back my first motion, and I move that we accept items A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion?
Who seconded?
Mr. Walker second, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we vote on F separately?
That is fine. Is that
Which one?
fine with you, Dr. Goodwine?
Which one we got a motion out there? The whole thing you want to vote separate?
No, Mr. Lacy
Just F.
asked if he could
Just
vote
F.
on F
Okay.
separate.
That's fine. F would be separate.
So this vote will be for all except for F. Any other discussion? If not, may we take a vote?
President Smith,
Yes?
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwine,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. Moving on now, we have a special presentation.
Oh,
No, F.
item F.
Oh, that's right, we have F, that's right, my fault, Mr. Lacy. Now can we vote on F? Are there any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Abstain.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwine,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
7 yeses, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Lawrence, your presentations?
Thank you, President Smith. In keeping in line with our work around our academic action plan and the work we've done out in the community presenting it, we also want to follow up during the board meetings with an alignment of presentation with that academic action plan. So we want to talk today about our ninth graders and how many of them are on track this year. That tells us a lot about whether they'll be graduating or not in 3.5 years. So coming to the podium is Melinda Clark, Director of Accountability and Assessment, our data guru, and always much appreciated.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Smith, Dr. Lawrence, Treasurer Braha, board members. Thank you for having me here this evening. Fortunately, I get to speak about freshmen today. So I will speak first about a typical freshman schedule. So freshmen typically have English Language Arts 1, Algebra 1, Physical Science, World History, Health, College and Career Readiness, They might have an intro to STEM class, a Spanish class, band or choir, art, PE, or another elective. The total number of classes they might have should be 7. Should be at least 7 classes. Next slide. The possible credits that they would earn by the end of the year at the end of their freshman year would be up to 7 credits. At the end of their sophomore year would be up to 14 credits. At the end of their junior year would be up to 21 credits. Their senior year up to 28 credits. And the reason we use the word up to is because physical education is only a quarter credit for each class or course that they take in that. And so credits are accumulated or earned at the end of each semester. And that does require a student to earn at least a 60% or higher in each course at the semester. And requirements for graduation are 20.5 credits. It is possible for students to earn more than this up to number that I included there if they're taking CCP courses, because a student can earn in a CCP course in the time frame that they would earn half a credit, they can earn an entire credit. So that kind of gives you an idea of what a freshman or other students in our school system can earn. So currently, next slide. Currently, our 9th graders, which we call the cohort or class of 2027, this is what they have earned by core content area. And so they should have earned at least half a credit in each of these core content areas. And so from a district perspective, we have about 77% of our almost 1,100 freshmen who have earned half a credit in each of the core contents on average. And by school, that varies. So in ELA, more of the Belmont students have earned their ELA credit. And in math, let's see, in math, Rosa Parks, although they have a smaller number of students. In, let's see, Stivers in social studies, and Stivers in science as well. And so we have, in different content areas, we have different rates of students actually earning those half credits. But that is what a student earning by this point in time they should have, if they've earned every credit, would be 3.5 credits. To be a sophomore, they have to have at least 2.5 credits by this point in time to be a sophomore by the end of their freshman year. So, next slide. So one of the things that our department has engaged in is we work with a research company, Hanover, and we've asked them to really quantify what does graduation risk look like. And at the end of Q4 last school year, 8th graders, they're 58, almost 59% of our 8th graders were at risk of not graduating. And this is based on discipline data, attendance data, academic grades, and performance on OSTs. Almost 23% of them were in that warning range, and almost 19% of them were in the not at risk. Well, since Q1, and we don't have Q2 data for this yet because it takes a little bit to get all of that analyzed. Since the end of Q1, we have significantly reduced the number of students in that same graduation cohort who are now freshmen, reduced their at risk of not graduating by 25%. We've increased the number of the percent of students who are at that warning level, and significantly increase the number of students or percent of students who are not at risk. And so this goes back to the the grades, the discipline, attendance, and their OST scores. And so, you know, one of the questions I know that's always asked is, what made this data change? So I talked to Erin, Ms. Dooley, about it, and she said principals really made a very focused effort on how to ensure students that were not being successful or who were failing courses at the end of quarter one or who were failing at the end of 8th grade, how are we going to ensure that they're not failing by the end of their freshman year or the end of semester for freshman year or end of first semester? And so principals made a very concerted effort to have plans with teachers, whether that was retaking tests, offering, the ability to redo assignments, all kinds of things, so that they had evidence of their learning. And so they could revise, they could resubmit. And so buildings really worked on that as a focus. So next slide. What questions might you have?
Appreciate the presentation. I had a couple. I want to open up to the board. Anyone else have any questions first? Dr. Goodwin.
Yes, thank you. I always appreciate all the data that you give us. I do enjoy it. As much as former board member Dion is sitting in the corner, I told him I was going to give him a shout out multiple times. Quick question for you, a couple questions for you. With this data, were you guys able to break it down just another level too to show us how many of the freshmen are first-time freshmen versus repeat freshmen?
So the class of 2027 is first-time freshmen because, and so those were all first-time freshmen. So I do have additional data on the students who are still classified as freshmen, but who are in a different graduation cohort.
Okay, would love to see that, to see how those individuals are progressing through, because I know our goal is to get them to the finish line. On the Dayton Digital, I just want to make sure I understand this correct. It's 5 individuals that were counted in that class, and they're at 0% in ELA, social studies and science, but 5% towards where they need to be at in the other ones?
Because basically that last column is an average of the 4 numbers.
Okay, so any idea why they're at 0% in the other columns?
I'm going to I don't know the answer to that. We can check on that, get an answer. I will say from experience, having worked with Dayton Digital Academy before, that many students may not have actually taken those courses yet.
Okay. And you mentioned that the principals have made more of a concentrated effort in trying to get these, being focused on keeping them on track. Do we know a little bit what that breakdown of that effort entails? Like, are we using any different type of software? Are there some after-school programs that are accounting for some changes? Like, I know Belmont has the biggest, if I'm correct, Dr. Lawrence, Belmont has the biggest freshman class?
They do.
Okay, so with them having the largest freshman class and seeing their percentages a little bit higher in some areas, do we know kind of what methods these individuals, are they creating practices that could be duplicated in other places?
That's a good question. I don't have it building by building. I know I can speak with Erin about what each building is doing, and we can get back with you on that.
Okay, and then my final question.
Actually, Dr. Goodwin, that's Chief Academic Officer. She goes in to monitor the PLCs and then also monitors the relationship between those PLCs and the principals and the fidelity of the supervision of monitoring our grades. So she's not here today, but she'll send you information.
Okay, appreciate to see what's happening at each one. And at one of the leadership, or one of the school conferences, we talked about kind of how this data and how catching it earlier and getting parents involved here. And I know, I don't have a freshman, but I have a junior, and at third grade, I got a letter that told me everything they had here. What is the actual parent engagement part here of, since we are now entering the third quarter, of how we are communicating where a child is, and if we have plans to try to get them where they go, kind of that pathway of getting them in earlier. And before you answer that, I don't know if I saw it on Facebook or if it was on the news, but it was a parent that didn't know that their child was a senior and didn't know that he had failed multiple classes. I feel like it's a Facebook story as I say it out loud, but then they found out at the end that the school was just passing him along, but he didn't have the credits. So I kind of asked that question to know, like, what are our touch points? And if we don't have something solidified, are we working towards building this piece that kind of gives that information a lot sooner? So if their children can be assisted, we can make that happen versus them finding out a year later that we got gaps.
Dr. Goodwin, I can answer that and say that, as an example, at Meadowdale, Principal Davis and his 2 assistants and the 2 counselors, the 5 of them, they're all working as counselors now next week to go over grades and credits with every single child at Meadowdale High School. So the principals have turned themselves into counselors as well, so they can have those conversations, and then they'll mail that information home. I have to find out if that's universal, but I know I was at Meadowdale and I saw it with my own eyeballs.
I saw it at Thurgood.
Yeah.
They've sent home, and I've gotten letters home that shows me the credit amount, and I just want to know if every school is having that one, because I know we have the hack system that kind of keeps you up, and we are really working to get that information input quicker. But I get the frustration from parents when they're checking the hack system and they're not seeing like what's going on there. So I don't know what our fix is for that one, but again, if we have this information and we can share it with individuals who are actively helping us in this education thing, I think that's a great thing that we can do.
We are currently using the success coaches. We're currently using males and females of color to make those phone calls, and that's system-wide from 7 through 12. And we're using our career navigator, Bernard Jones, to also do that same thing.
Okay. Oh, I have one more question. Then I'll
Sure.
pass it back. Maybe think of one more. So with these ones, and I know we've had some conversation with our substitute teachers, how is their information accounted for in these instances? Because I have received some comments from parents about substitute teachers and the grades that they're giving out. How are we helping to, I don't know what we're doing with that. I don't know what they're taught to grade on, and also if what they're giving or teaching is filling the gaps. I have no idea. So my question is, when a child does have a substitute teacher as their primary teacher in the class, how are we ensuring that not only that substitute teacher has what they need to make sure that that child is getting the adequate learning piece there, but if they do fall behind, that communication piece is in, how we can help close those gaps?
So the substitute teachers are part of our PLCs. We treat them just like regular teachers. And actually, there's Chief Sheehy also has other specialized instructional supports that she has for long-term subs, because they have not passed teacher licensure, and we know there's some gaps there. So going forward this year and next year, we're putting pieces in place, knowing that we have, as of today, 222 long-term subs. Given that that's the case, our goal is to retain as many teachers as we can this year, recruit some more, but we know we're still going to have long-term subs. So the question is, like, what's the plan? And we're going to treat them like teachers and train them like teachers.
Okay. Are they doing that same communication piece too, with the grades, being able to communicate in real time with parents of what's going on?
Their expectations are the same as teachers, yes.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I want to follow up with some of the things that Dr. Goodwin said. I knew I shouldn't let her go first. She took a couple of my questions. But with that student and that parent touch piece, and I understand we can do some of it on our own with HACC, but understanding that at-risk and that warning piece that adds in attendance, it adds in discipline, what does that look like when we're saying, because I might be a parent, I'm looking at my student, when I'm looking at the grades, it might look one way, but pulling in discipline, pulling in attendance, some of those things, what does that look like for our principals, for our teachers, for our families to really sit down and say, okay, this is where we are, you know, you're at this at-risk level because you have this many tardies, this many absences, or because you have this many referrals. How is that being done throughout the district, and is it different by school?
So I would say I've not seen how schools are specifically implementing it. I know that we have worked with principals on accessing this data for their individual students by grade level. We've shown them how to access the information because they have access to their own Hanover data, where they can actually look at the information by school, by grade, and so they can break it down themselves. One of the areas that we additionally have to work with principals on is that data is anonymous, and so it's then connecting some of that data to a specific student.
President Smith, I'd just like to add that E.J. Brown and Thurgood Marshall are some of our most at-risk students. It's sometimes parent conferences where you call parents in, and sometimes it's home visits. I see some of the home visit folks out there right now. So we're knocking on doors to say, based on the 3 indicators that we have, your child's at risk.
Appreciate that. Are there any other questions? Mr. Walker?
Okay, so when you say that with knocking on the doors, what's the follow-up and what's the turnaround for the student or the parent? Is it continuous follow-up and the engagement from the parent? What does that look like? I get the phone calls and conferences and things like that, but is this a monthly check-in going forward or a quarterly check-in to see where they're at, or what does that look like?
I don't know if it's systematized that way. I think what the first check-in is, once we go through that series of things, phone call, conference, knock on the door, then we check the Hanover data to see, hey, have we seen any progress? And if we've seen progress, then we say, hey, mission accomplished, job well done. If we haven't, it's back to the streets to do it again.
And I can tell you just from some data that I've run recently regarding attendance, we have some students who have significantly improved their attendance from quarter 1 to quarter 2, and I mean significantly. And I don't know the answer, but I'm going to make a generalization that there was some significant intervention in there, whether that was at the building level or someone who was out knocking on the door.
That actually is the next presentation. I'm looking at the presenter right now.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Quick question.
Mr. Lacy?
The hack system in Google Classroom, are they independent?
They are independent.
Okay, so a teacher has to enter. So both of them show like classwork that's due. So a teacher is supposed to enter them in both systems?
No, not necessarily. The hack system is the system of record. The Google system is, some teachers track their assignments in the Google system, but technically the hack system is the system of record.
Okay. So that records the grade and so forth. But yeah, it's confusing. Are there systems out there that that have them together? Because it seems like I always have to look in both places to make sure there's something due that needs to be done.
I'm going to say that's something we're working on.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, she's smiling, Board Member Lacy, because Sentinel, our new MITS provider, that's one of the first questions we had, and one of the first answers they gave us is that you do have multiple overlapping systems, okay, and they're going to work with us to come up with a plan to simplify them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I see none. Once again, appreciate you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Next presentation, Dr. Lawrence.
Next presentation is chronic absenteeism. Rebecca Rogers, she represents the Attendance Intervention and Student Services team, and she's going to follow up on Mindy Clark's presentation with some other questions around interventions and some other questions you had. And then I have a brief announcement after that.
Appreciate you.
Good evening, President Smith, Vice President Wick, Superintendent Lawrence, Treasurer Braha, and board members. I'm here tonight to talk to you about chronic absence data for the district. And next slide, we're going to start at the very beginning with what is chronic absence. So chronic absenteeism is defined as missing for any reason at all, 10% or more of the days a student is enrolled in a school year. For a typical student, that's the full school year. And this year, our calendar currently has 175 days. So they would be chronically absent if they missed 18 or more days by the end of the year. If a student is less than fully enrolled, then it would be 10% of the days that they were enrolled. So for example, if they were enrolled for 150 days, then they would be chronically absent if they missed 16 or more days instead of 18 or more. Ohio's ESSA plan defines this the same way. Some states have varying definitions, but Ohio, in our ESSA plan at the state level, defines chronic absence the same way, missing 10% or more of their school days for any reason. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at different attendance measures, average daily attendance, which is also called an attendance percentage or an attendance rate, tells us how many students come to school on average every day in the building, in the classroom, in the district. Truancy is defined as how many students miss a legally defined number of days without authorization. Then we look at chronic absence, and we're capturing kind of a deeper, broader look at attendance that we might miss using the other two. So chronic absence differs from those because it tells us how many students are missing so many instructional days and hours for any reason at all that it's having a negative impact on their learning. So how big is the issue? At a national level, prior to COVID, the chronic absence rate was an alarming just a little bit more than 8 million. Unfortunately, after COVID, in the latest data that we have nationally from the 21 school year, at least 14.7 million students nationally were chronically absent, which means that the chronic absence rate has almost doubled since pre-COVID. Next slide, please. So, for the district, we saw a similar trend as we hear about national in terms of statistics. You can see that at the semester, in each of the school years, the one prior to the pandemic and then the last three, what our chronic absent rate was. And you can see that it did pretty much double from pre to post-pandemic. But the good news is it's been steadily improving for the last 3 years. What you're looking at in the difference is a negative number because, of course, when we want chronic absence to go down, we want the percentage to go down. So anytime you see a negative number, that's reflective of a reduced chronic absence rate in that area. Next slide, please. So we've broken this down for you into schools on this slide. Prior to the pandemic at the semester and the last 3 years at the semester, including the one we're in now. It looks really good. Next slide, please. We have a couple of hiccups on this page, but it's something we're aware of and we're working on. However, overall, the data continues here to look very good in terms of where we were in 22 versus 23 versus 24. Next slide, please. The same thing with grade. We're looking at right before the pandemic and then the last 3 years at the semester. Again, all good news here. Next slide, please. Subgroups. I want to just point out that in the case of something like, for example, Pacific Islander, where it looks like we really, really knocked that one out of the park. Sometimes we get numbers like that because those subgroups are relatively small and one child can change that number drastically, but it's still good news. Next slide, please. And then what we're starting to do in our data is really break down the categories. So in this one, you're looking at mid-year 2022-23 and mid-year 23-24 on day 86. So that would be January 6th of last year and January 5th of this year. And as of day 86 last year, your column on the left shows the percentage of our students that were in those categories. And on the right, it's the percentage of students that are in those categories this year. So you can see that what we've done is like sort of pushed everyone up. There's improvement in every level. And we know that improved attendance leads to improved academic achievement and performance. So we are feeling hopeful about this data, and it's showing us exactly what we want, that we're doing good work, and that now is the time to push even harder. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now it's time for questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Appreciate the work that you do for our district.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to open it up to the board. If we have any questions?
I got a question.
Hello.
All this data looks really, really good, and it's a simple question. Like, are you guys, because of what you're doing, are you going to kind of just stay the course of what you're doing, or are you going to continue to kind of think out the box as to how to get the remaining students into the school for attendance?
Great question, and I think I would say both, stay the course and start thinking more outside the box, because that's what's necessary to get us back to those pre-pandemic levels of attendance.
Okay.
Dr. Goodwin.
Yes, my question, what are the top contributors to the chronic absenteeism?
Probably the number one contributor is just there really has been a change in thought from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic. There are a lot of people who are really still afraid when the smallest thing happens. There's anxiety around school, plus kids got used to not being at school. One of the things is transportation, and I honestly believe that we're looking at data that looks like this because transportation is working so hard to make their changes and improvements this year, and that is part of what's reflected here. Another thing is school phobia or school anxiety for students. That's a bigger problem than sometimes, we can get our hands around. When there's only a few of us, but one good thing that's happened this year and last year is that we added student success coaches at the high school level, and we've doubled the size of our department from 2 to 4. And those additional people are allowing us to foster deeper relationships with students than we could when there were fewer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I got another question.
We'll go to Haley, then Walker.
So with this, how have the parents been involved in this, and what's the interaction with the parents with getting the helping? Were you helping the parents?
Well, I can definitely say that parents still think of us as truancy and punitive. And we have actually sort of shifted our focus in the department away from truancy and the punitive aspect and the negative, because obviously chronic absence is equally, if not more important than truancy. So we've developed a new mindset, basically, of partnering with parents. And if I could say anything that I want parents to know is that when we're knocking on your door, it's not because we want to cause problems, it's because we want to help alleviate them.
Thank you. My question will be, what's the referral process from the school and the school's involvement before it gets to your office?
So the referral process basically follows a truancy intervention plan. So at a certain level, they get a letter. At a certain level of absences, they get another different letter. And then when they reach a truancy threshold, they get an attendance contract. Well, actually, there's a parent phone call before that, and then an attendance contract. And then after the attendance contract and they're working the contract, that's often when we go do home visits to support that process. Sometimes we're supporting that process by actually going and doing the attendance contract. There's also a referral method for any school, just phone call, email, whatever. If there's a wellness concern or they can't reach parents with any of the numbers or whatever, at any point, there's no referral process necessary for that. They can just call us and say, we need you to go do a home visit or a well check.
Thank you. And then my next question would be, is there a current prevention program in place for some of these students who may have had excessive amount of attendance issues?
For those that are part of the court, yes, there is a prevention program that are already sort of part of the court process, and I can't speak to that in terms of my knowledge, but there may be other people who could answer that question for us and get back to you, because I know that we definitely have things in the works, wraparound service type things and more parent education and whatnot.
Okay, I would appreciate that. And my next question would be, what's the collaboration efforts look like from your office and the community outside of just the courts and things like that, but what's the involvement there with that piece?
Well, I know we do regular meetings with the court. We also do regular meetings with Children's Services, Education Unit, whatever other school districts and the attendance officers in the greater Miami Valley area get together. And we do that sort of thing. In terms of other community involvement, we don't have much because it's more family focused, but we're always open to that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Wick?
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. I think these numbers are fascinating, or the statistics. On the excused absences, unexcused absences, what does that, unexcused absences are, I'm out and I don't have a note, I haven't given the proper paperwork. What do those do you know what those percentages look like? I mean, are there simple solutions we can put in place, like with enforcing notes from our parents so that we can tighten up on some of these numbers? I mean, I know as a parent, when my kids were in school, oftentimes if there was a doctor appointment or something, and you'd forget to write a note.
Right.
How much of it is just forgetfulness and mindfulness around, our responsibility and accountability to be at school with our parents? And do you have any reflection on that?
I really don't know that data. I'd certainly be willing to look into it more and get back to you. I do know anecdotally that a lot of the kids we work with, when we're on the phone with parents or at the door with parents and we're looking at a list of absences, and we say, all these are the unexcused absences your child has, they'll say, well, she was sick on this day and sick on this day and sick on this day. And at that point, we talk about, here's our policy on notes, here's how it works, this is what you have to do. And from this point forward, if you send notes, then these absences can be excused and they won't count towards truancy.
Thank you.
Did you have a couple, Mr. Lacy?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, my question was like Karen's. I mean, you don't have aggregate data. Like, I mean, it might not be that tough to put together, but like, if the total chronic absences were a number, an aggregate number, the total days absent, how many of those would be suspension, how many of those would be unexcused absences, and how many would be excused absences?
So I can send you a report of all of that information.
Okay.
I have all of it, I just need to put it in a spreadsheet for you.
I appreciate it. I'm not asking you to reinvent the wheel or anything, but whatever you got.
I do.
Thanks.
Sorry, one more for me. I'm curious of what the intervention plan looks like with regards to attendance of a student.
So the absence intervention plan or the attendance contract basically is a very simple document. It has the student's demographics. It has, at the point of the meeting or the time that we're doing the contract, how many days or instructional hours they've missed and how many of those are excused versus unexcused. There's a small section that asks for parent input about whether or not the child rides a bus or what kind of transportation they use, if there's any transportation issues, if they call the school or send notes after absences. And then 2 sections. What are the barriers that the school sees and that the parent sees? And what are the interventions we can provide to address those barriers?
How many days or hours before this plan is implemented?
So again, that would be a law-driven, basically nomination. So in Ohio, you reach the truancy threshold if you have 30 hours in a row of unexcused absence, which equates to about 5 days in a row, 42 hours in a month, which is about 7 days, or 72 hours in a year, which is about 12 days. So depending on which one of those thresholds they hit, it might happen very soon or it might take a while.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think also, okay, I'll get after this. I also think, is there a way, maybe you too, Dr. Lawrence, with that, understanding how post-COVID, it's not just been a attendance thing at schools. We've seen it in jobs. We've seen it in careers. We've seen it all across our city, all across the nation. I think, is there a way that we can even start having those kind of conversations about how that mindset trickles down to education. You know, it's when you have families where, you know, we see it in education, you see it all across the board where job attendance is down. You know, people are, I mean, and even just people are leaving jobs. Like, there are so many things that happened during COVID where things didn't happen the same way afterwards, where people don't have a problem getting up and saying, okay, I quit this job. I'll leave and go work over here. I'll do this, I'll do that. I think we need to really start having those kind of conversations just with communities. And I understand even getting outside the box and just talking to spaces that have trust in different communities, or that people have trust in, and talking about how those things, because it always trickles down to our children. You know, you see it where you see the political infighting and this and that, and then we wonder why children are on social media going back and forth. Or we see these kind of things with mental health, and it's not just a children thing, it's a thing that happens in society, and it trickles down to our children. So I would ask Dr. Lawrence if we could kind of look at how do we have those conversations with community partners, getting with the Omega CDCs that are doing work in Northwest Dayton, getting with East End and people that have the work, and it always isn't around an attendance piece, but they have trust. They have buy-in from community members to really have those conversations about just post-COVID, how life has changed for people. Because I think that is a big thing, and it contributes to, you know, not writing a note after, you know, you had a doctor's appointment, or not saying something. It's just, all right, you'll go back to school when you go. And because that's just been an adult thing as well. It's been, so I think when you have these things, we have to really look at it as how do we reframe the conversation too. So I definitely appreciate the work because it's huge. I mean, it's really huge. And I also wanted to shout out one of our superstars in the back, Miss Tobette Pleasant Brown back there. She's been out here doing this work for years. And so I always like to see those kind of people come out, and got to give her flowers while she's here. So definitely appreciate the work. Ms. Reiner.
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got
Dr.
one.
Goodwine.
Can you just tell me a little bit about what our messaging platforms are? Like, do we have videos on this? Do we have stuff that goes out about this? What's our, like, outside of people watching this board meeting, how do they see some of the stuff you're talking about here?
We definitely have a presence on social media in terms of PIO does a great job of helping us out with attendance shout outs and information for parents about, at this point in the year, we've had 86 school days, and if your child has missed 9 or more days, they are chronically absent, but they don't have to stay that way. Those kinds of messaging. We have videos that I think also have to do with PIO. Again, my job is more specific, so I'm not sure, but I can certainly get the answer.
Let me ask you, she right there. Like, all of them are here right now. Gotta come to the mic for the people at home. It's that teamwork right there.
So we certainly have a presence on social media, mainly with data, letting people know information about our top schools, most attended schools. That's actually a really good way to get the message about attendance cross, because people love to see their school on that list, and it gets a lot of traction. It's pretty widespread. We also do, as Rebecca mentioned, kind of a chronic absenteeism data point. You know, at this point in the school year, if you've missed X number of days, your student would be considered chronically absent. To get back on track, here's what you need to do. As far as videos, we had some a few years ago, I believe, but nothing recent, so that is something we could visit, creating sort of an updated video on what is chronic absenteeism, how to support student attendance, that sort of thing.
Okay. Thank you. I had a question for Mr. Nichols, actually. What type of stuff, you know, because you got perfect attendance at the board meetings. You better than some of us, so. As a person that is currently in here, what type of messaging would you think your peers would want to see? Are these type of things that they can share not only with each other, but their parents to be encouraging? Like, how can we get better? Knowing that you are a residential student, so.
Just to know that attendance is everything, and like fellow President Will said, that this affects you outside of school, like jobs, where you can be. So I know at our school we have a lot of incentive to be there. Like, this is a big board, it splits it up by class, who has the highest attendance, and they get awarded for it. And you know, so it's just little stuff like that. just like you said, it's important. Like, yeah, that's about it.
Appreciate it.
You said school. Would you like to mention what school you're from?
Oh, Meadowdale High
Thank you.
School.
Of course, of course. Any other questions? Seeing none, once again, I want to appreciate you for your presentation and thank you both for the work that you give our district on a daily basis. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, President Smith, before we do a hearing of the public, can I make a brief announcement?
Yes, sir, as long as it's brief.
It's going to be very brief. I won't be at work tomorrow. I'm calling off.
Probably to celebrate those Michigan Wolverines.
No, hey, I have a really special announcement. I've invited some support from board member Jocelyn Reiner. She actually is working on many of the major projects that I'm working on outside of academics. And we are pleased to announce that we are going to begin the investigatory process of exploring what a arts elementary school would look like on the west side of Dayton. And so I want to tag you and let you take it from there, and then I'll finish it.
Thank you, Superintendent. I was really, really excited when you opened this conversation with me, and the desire we've had from the community for years to create these opportunities. We have arts classes and we have arts education in all of our elementary schools, but creating the opportunity for kids to get some more intensive opportunities. There are a lot of things that need to go into this conversation, Superintendent. And I'll be very clear that we want to make sure that while this program is strong and implemented with fidelity, that we are also looking at the other schools that are not going to be part of this program to make sure that we are not giving some of our kids access to something that other kids aren't. That's going to be a major part of this conversation going forward, and I have talked to several board members over the past couple days about it, and more than one of them has raised that concern. And I'm really grateful to know that that is on our radar for making sure that this program is amazing. We also need to talk about the equity that we have in our district. But I'm really excited for the next phase of this conversation, and this is a big deal, and you were taking this very seriously, and I am really supportive of this. We're at the very beginning of the stages. We have a lot of research to do. But one of the biggest questions we have is, what school are we going to be doing this? And I really want to make sure that as we go forward with this, we are involving the community every step of the way with thinking about intentionally what the best school is, what the best part of this beautiful city and community that we have. So I'm excited to have the conversation about exploring this project and what part of the city and what school we're going to be having the conversation with.
The term exploration, so I think we're going to do a lot of research. Board Member Reiner and our academic team, led by Ms. Judy Spurlock, Associate Superintendent Lisa Miner, Aaron Dooley. Who am I missing, Lisa, that should be on that team? Okay, yeah, they're going to be doing some traveling. We have an outside community partner who's putting up resources for them to travel to arts elementary schools around the country to begin the process of seeing what it looks like on the ground. So I'm excited for y'all to get.
At the bare minimum, are included in this conversation, and can also even pitch why their school should be the one to get it. Like, I do hope that they are able to advocate in a way that people can hear why their school is the best one for it, versus the decision just coming from this dais that we're just gonna go with that one. Because I think people should tell us, why should you get this? And if you give a great thing, go ahead and give it to them.
Yeah, we think you're spot on. That actually was part of why we thought it was exciting, because we're not doing this next week, next month. It's a runway process where we get a chance to hear from the community and from schools and from all the constituents that you talked about, to go through this process to say, yeah, what is the best space in place? And then also some really great points by you, Board Member Walker, in terms of how to staff this. That was part of the initial conversation, because none of this matters if you can't really staff it, right? And then the piece around the middle school, We hear you loud and clear, point duly noted. In fact, the minutes of our last academic team meeting, which was yesterday, I would say virtually all of it was devoted to middle school.
Appreciate that. Any other questions? Appreciate that, Mr. Lawrence, Dr. Lawrence. Now, do we have any bargaining units here to speak? I see none. Madam Treasurer, are there any residents, any people coming out for hearing of the public tonight?
Yes.
As they get ready, just want to let you know you have your 3 minutes. Complete your form, which you have done. If they've called you, if they got called up, when called upon, identify yourself, state your name, address, the school district, and then electric submissions will only be used during remote meetings, which we do not have right now. A non-English speaker will be needed to will need to provide an interpreter, and time may be extended if they need that. Address the board as a whole through the president and not individual board members. If you have any materials for distribution, please hand them to the treasurer. And it is inappropriate to address any matter involving pending disputes, grievances under a labor agreement, disciplinary action involving an employee or a student, ongoing labor negotiations, concerns or matters that have already been settled, and/or any matter which, because of its nature, is deemed appropriate to be discussed in executive session. The purpose of public hearing is for members of the public to express viewpoints and public concerns. Madam Treasurer, who do we have the pleasure of hearing from today?
Jennifer Blackburn. Jennifer Blackburn.
I do not know if she is here. Do we have anybody else, Madam Treasurer?
Sally Green.
I do not see anyone making a move towards the podium. Is there anyone else, Madam Treasurer?
Okay, Jerome McIntosh. Wow. David Ezrati.
David Ezrati, 113 Bonner Street, Dayton Public Schools. I realize that coming up here is perfunctory, that you don't really listen, that you don't really care what we have to say, and you don't respond. You need to change that policy. You should have answers to the people at the next meeting and tell them what you found. This whole thing is based on trust. People send their children to you because they trust you to do the right thing, to provide an education, to provide a safe environment, to do what schools are supposed to do. And they trust that you run this school district. You give direction to your superintendent for him to do the right thing. So I really have a problem when in her last meeting, Dr. Gabriella Pickett sat up here and told us that there's some sort of fraud and we need an auditor and there's been a crime committed. And I didn't hear anything out of the rest of you. I haven't seen anything presented to straighten it out. You might not listen to me, but when she says something, we need an auditor and things went missing, and there's a problem, that should wake all of you up and say, we're going to get an answer to this community. And the question is, if she knew about it and she sat there all with her hands under her butt for years, did she commit a crime? Because you have a responsibility to report crimes when you know of them. That is your job. Moving on to another matter, I've seen presentations to this board that have been horrific. I saw you grant $400,000 to the University of Virginia for a program for Dr. Lawley that you only did for 2 years out of the 3. You put several $100,000 down the drain, where they were presenting where it said, "My perfect title slide." That's when I really lost faith in you, that you didn't have the will to stop the person and ask the question. But I see that you have a contract for the next meeting coming up with a, quote, creative group in this town that you're going to vote for. who you hired 5 years ago or 4 years ago to build you a website for the same amount of money you're about to hire them again to do the same thing. Why is that? And why is it no bid? And where do they get the idea that a logo from them with 5 or 6 ideas is $11,000? I think you need to go out to bid, and I think you need to wonder why, if they built your current website, why they're going to do it any better this time than they did last time. And maybe that's not even the right problem, but you wouldn't know that because none of you are in this field and none of you have any expertise. And when you have been guided by somebody who does have expertise in the field, you don't listen. There was a time just before my father died where I worked my butt off to put in a response to an RFP. We were the low bidder by far, and the review of that bid was abysmal. You granted it to the highest bidder. They did no work. That's how this works. It's not about doing the right thing for the public. It's not about doing what's right for the district. It seems to be about hiring our friends and family. I please ask that you put this out to bid and see who else is out there that can do this work. Because if they couldn't do it the first time, what's the indication they'll do it a second? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ezrati. Madam Treasurer, do we have anyone else?
No, that,
That concludes hearing of the public.
yes.
Dr. Lawrence, your recommendations, please.
President Smith, I recommend approval of the following agenda items for a vote. Thanks. I recommend the approval of the following agenda items for a vote. And A, Human Resources A.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions on the motion? Mr. Walker?
Can I ask, what is the parent mentor? Item 19.
Parent mentor, item 19, Carrie Farley.
I can share the job description.
Yeah.
You-
Board Member Walker, I tell you what, because I don't know if it's part of the 2023, 24 budget line. So let's pull that and get back with you. I don't know if that's part of the 23, 24 budget line.
Dr. Lawrence, is there any information that we could get from the HR department at this point? Any additional information we should know?
I'll send the job description.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had another question as well.
Sure.
With regards to item 32, if I'm not mistaken, this was passed last month as well. So is there more than one network administrator?
So there were 4 positions. We followed through on 3 of them last month, and this is the 4th of the 4 positions.
Okay. And last question.
Yes, sir.
With regards to the item 5, I guess my ask would be that with the new hire coming in, that I know the student body has a chance to express their concerns about nutrition services and meal items, and seeing how the new person can potentially adapt to that or bring up that to them of how that process works with preparing meal items. Since this, I know the previous director was here for a numerous amount of years, but looking at the next person going forward.
That request can certainly be honored, Board Walker. In fact, Business Manager Powell and I had a conversation about, are we ready yet to have the conversation around posting that job, and we're not. And we'll take your comments into consideration as we think about the interview process and posting process for that, and get some students involved.
Thank you. That was all I have.
Any other questions? Dr. Goodwin?
Item number 73, is that referral bonus under the old program or under the new program? Well, we passed the policy last, I think, November or December, so is the amount on here under what we were doing prior? Because my assumption is this is a teacher, so is it under the old amount, or is that towards the new amount too?
Is there a discrepancy between?
No, it's not, I just wonder if this is this like the first one under the new policy?
Yes, this is the first one on the new policy.
Okay, question, can you just tell me how people walk through that process? Because I've gotten questions on how people do that, and I don't know.
So when an employee makes a referral to,
How do they do the referral? Like, where do they send that? That's the first step of
they
it.
send it to our recruiters.
Okay, is there a general email for them, or do they have to know who the recruiter
It's
is?
a general email. And then we follow up to make sure that that individual was hired on, and then we make the payment.
Okay, and then is this, because under the new program, is it 90 days? Did they get the second amount of the payment?
I believe it is 90 days under the new program.
Okay, and what's the general mailbox for people to know, in case they don't know? You can just tell them where that general mailbox is.
Oh, HR communication.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
Are we pulling that
Yes.
parent mentor one? Okay.
Actually, I have one more question.
Dr. Goodwin?
Yes. Number 79, actually, there's several of them that appear to be going back to August 2023. I know we stopped doing retro pay as of December 31st. So are those people going to be, is the date correct? Have they been working since August?
Yes, the date is correct. If you look at that date, we had a batch of individuals where the previous associate got them in, received them from buildings, but didn't place them on the agenda. And then when that individual left, they were kind of in limbo. That we didn't have a transition plan in place. So we're just rectifying a problem that we had in place.
So with their payment, how is that going to be handled?
What do you mean?
Have they already been paid, or do we?
They
still
have
need-
not. They have
Okay.
not been board approved.
So, and then the amounts here, on here, because I know we've had a couple issues with people getting paid their supplementals. What is the next step pending they are approved by the board to ensure that they do get their compensation timely?
Yeah, so as soon as they're board approved, we can pay them on the next check.
What? On that, are those end dates that are in there correct for them as well?
Let me grab my computer.
Do they end in June or do they end in May? It's-
No, it says 2029.
One of them says 2029.
The one says 28, the one says 30.
Yeah, it's 79 and 80.
Yeah, some say 26 and 27 as well.
79, 80, 61, 52, 53.
Yeah, those should be 2024. So we'll make those modifications.
So do they need to be pulled, or in the motion, do we need to make the adjustment for the 2024 date to reflect in the minutes?
Dr. Goodwin, I would pull them.
Okay,
Yeah, since we're going to have an HR vote next week as well, I would pull them.
okay. I like to pull items, let me just pull all of them. From 30,
Why don't you just say pull everyone that has an end date beyond 2024?
that works.
Yeah, because if we,
I like to pull every item on here that has an end date beyond 2024. And to be brought back next meeting.
Okay.
I don't want them to be in.
Because I don't see anything past 2024 in the other ones.
All right.
Or even the dismissal or whatever.
Is that noted? Any other questions? May we have a vote excluding the number 19 and the other items that have non-2024 end dates? May we have a vote?
Beyond 2020.
Beyond 2024.
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Your next recommendation, Dr. Lawrence.
Thank you. I recommend approval of the following human resources DEA after July 10th, Section B.
So moved.
It's not for approval.
This is not for,
Oh, that's not for vote. I'm
Just
sorry.
review.
all right, just review.
I withdraw my motion.
Taken. Any questions? Seeing none, next recommendation, Dr. Lawrence.
I recommend the approval of the following contracts for a vote because it's Sentinel Technology, and we need this lead time. They're here already on the ground working, and we have that transition. So typically it would be next week, but I need to have it voted on this week.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any questions?
Yes.
Dr.
Can-
Goodwin.
Can we vote on year one? I have questions about year 2 through 5, based on some of the projections that were given to us about how we were doing our IT department. Is that okay for you? Does that still work for what I need?
Yes, it still works for us.
Okay. So I'd like to make a friendly amendment to the motion.
I'll accept.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Before you move on, Dr. Lawrence or Ms. Powell, can I have a copy of this contract, please?
Yes.
Next recommendation, please, sir.
I recommend for a review the following contracts in Section D.
Any questions?
Yes. So I will ask, did this go out for bid, and if so, how many bid on it?
When you say this, which one?
Catapult.
No, that did not go out for bid, and it didn't go out for bid, Board Member Walker, because August is the date when I needed this done. I wanted it done before convocation and before the school year. If it went out to bid, that probably pushed us back at least anywhere from 10 to 16 weeks, and we wouldn't be on a timeline to get this done before the next school year started.
Okay, and looking at the redesign of the website, this was done a few years ago, so I'm just curious of what else are they doing, they're going to be doing, especially if, the record does show that they had the contract before to do the design work. So are they fixing things that they messed up, and we're paying them to fix their mess-ups, or?
No, the redesign is, this is delicate, what I'm going to say next. The redesign is part of a different administration that wants to see a different look on the page, different logo, changing the guard from where we were before and moving forward in all spaces, including visually what it looks like to open up that space for Dayton Public Schools.
And my last question, or rather a comment, I am very appreciative of the Radius contract on here. I did have the chance to tour Cleveland this past week and loved their redesign in their cafeteria. So really looking forward to the work of these other buildings.
Hey, thanks for that shout out.
Any other questions? Dr. Goodwin.
Yes, with the cafeteria redesigns, which schools are up now?
So that's going to change because we'll have a new director and we have a new business manager. So Mr. Furr had a pattern in terms of how she was going to go through each school. But I think the associate director, in conjunction with the business manager and probably working closely with us in academics, we will probably come up with a different plan on which redesigns. We have about $17 million in reserve in that space, so we have a lot of resources to do the redesigns, but we're going to probably change directions.
Okay, and Ms.
And we can
Powell,
let, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna ask Ms. Powell, if you could just give us, not like this second, but at the business meeting, just some guesses of what possible schools there would be on this round, that would just be good to see.
Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, you said, I just want to make sure I'm correct on this. You said that we're doing this because the administration before this wanted this?
Yes, this was their idea, and the framework of the website before was the administration's before. We have begun to review lots of other websites that we think are far more interactive, far more forward-facing, far more parent-facing, far more community-facing. So, and then that logo is, yeah, we just wanted to go in a different direction. This is the previous administration.
So is this the redirection, or?
Yes, this is the
Are you guys
redirection.
coming in saying that we need something different? Because if you need something different, then why would you go with this right now?
Yeah, this is a redirection in that, you know, a lot of times, so vendors, they can give you options, or you can tell them what you want. We've had an internal sub-team working on what we want, and so we're going to tell them what we want now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Dr. Goodwin?
And even with the new website, I know we've talked about this at length, about the individual
We sure have.
schools having some identities on our website. We'll be able to see, like, even being able to see their history, what's happening at their school, and not just the blanket page of the administration and the admin team. Correct? We're looking to get that with this.
That is correct. Your ideas were, I took notes.
Mr. Walker?
Last question. What is the district dollar amount for putting the contract out for bid?
Anything over 15, is that where we are?
50?
Yeah, 50.
Over 50.
Okay, so.
Well, we show all those over 15, but anything over 50.
So with this being split into two, is that why it did not go out for bid?
That's one of the reasons, but it's two different spaces. So one is for the logo. That to us is a separate story than the website itself.
Okay.
All right.
My question is, if I may,
Sure.
which one of these is what you say the district needs to have done before convocation?
The redesign is critical.
The redesign of the logo?
Yeah, no. The
Of the
redesign of the
website.
website.
Okay. My thought is, in looking at this, then if they did the work before, I would be more apt to wanting to see what they could give us before we tied ourselves to giving the money for it. Because we talked with Dr. Goodwin, I know I've talked with you about it, and I've talked to others where there's so many things that we can do with our websites. Even right now, the fact that our athletics, to get that information, is a total separate website. You know, like the fact that there's no cohesiveness in there, the fact that there's just a lot of things that we can do. My thought is really about how do we make sure that we get what we need. And then also, even going out for bid, the way this field is, from being around people that, I get the lead time of the work needed to do the bid, but putting this together for people who know how to do it is not a long-term thing. It doesn't take a whole lot. I think it's more on our side first to understand what we want. And people who do that work can know how to turn around and do that. They do that. These kids do that work. These people, these veterans in these fields do that work. So that is my thought, and I'll reach out to you and kind of see where you're looking to go with that, because I do think I get there is a need for a change, but I also don't want us to do things to change things for the sake of change. And I'm not saying that this is that, but I think that if we're not making sure we have everything we need, I wouldn't want us to have to come back 2 years later and say, we're going with Catapult to change up some things or to do another tweak on it, so.
just wanted to provide a little more information about the website redesign.
Okay.
So part of the discussions we've had is we're going to integrate the athletics website. That's something they're going to look at. They're also going to look at getting an athletic spirit wear shop integrated. So really, the redesign is not taking just what we have now and making it look different. It's a complete reimagining of what we need, what it could be. And so I feel like there could definitely be maybe smaller groups deciding what they want for curriculum, for example. HR has told us their page doesn't work the way it's set up, and they want that to be different. And then, of course, the individual school pages, there's so much more that can be done there. So we're really, as part of the project, it's a complete, whatever we need done is open and on the table. So that's what they've told us.
Okay, and in your estimation, what does that timeline look like for the both of you, I guess? To look at all of these departments, to make sure that their concerns are lifted, to make sure we have that noted, to make sure that this gets done. What does that look like to you?
I don't think that would take very long because the departments we're aware of that it's not working for them, we've been in conversations with them for a long time. And for all others, I think we can touch base with them, ask them, is there anything missing from your page that you would need to have there? Do we need to reimagine the structure of your page? I think we could handle that. I think the big ones are going to be athletics, HR, the school pages, and then also curriculum, because right now there's really not much on there. And I think more and more parents, they want to see what their students are learning. They want to know what's in the curriculum. So I think there's an opportunity to add more there and just kind of have more of a transparent process, I guess, on the website. So parents can go there and see more up-to-date information.
Appreciate that, Ms. Kincaid. We'll go Dr. Bailey and then Ms. Whitman.
All right, you just said something about talking to the teachers and stuff to get things corrected. Is that what you said?
Why, are you
or
talking about the
something
school
that's-
pages?
Yeah.
Well, right now, school pages I think there's more opportunity for them to share more about, as Dr. Goodwine mentioned, the history of their building, also currently what's going on, what they're doing. The way the pages are designed right now, it's kind of just one page without really any menu items. There's a lot that could change to make it so that when you go to a school page, you really know that school. You see their identity, maybe you see pictures of their students. We talked about possibly putting a video with footage from each school when you click on their page to kind of immerse you in what that school is like. So,
Yeah, 'cause I'm thinking about what Mr. Walker said. So is that something that was supposed to be already?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. So we redesigned the website in 2019. It was last redesigned, I believe, in 2014. And a 5-year time span, a lot changes with websites during that time frame. So in 2019, it was very much needed for an upgrade. At that time, I think the forefront issue was we needed a way to put news, up-to-date information on the website quickly. For example, snow days. In the 2014 design, we could not go on there and say school is closed today. That was not a function you could do. And so 2019's redesign really allowed us to just get information on there, share more news, have a calendar added, that sort of thing. Now, we're 4 or 5 years later, and as Dr. Lawrence mentioned, it's time for another reimagining maybe. We can put information on there now, but maybe we can do more and show parents more and make our school district look better.
So once this company redesigns or I'll just use in the past, they designed it so they don't gradually upgrade the system or
Well,
anything
they're
like
our
that?
host, and so actually, if there are ever any issues, we go to them. So if we, one day wake up and the website's down, they resolve that issue. And if we ever have any issues with coding or a page not working correctly, they help us resolve that issue. And so they've been very good to work with in that regard. But a continual changing of the website is usually not part of a redesign process.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Goodwine. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Wick, then Dr. Goodwine.
Thank you. I just wanted to reflect a bit from my perspective of, first of all, I think you hit it on the head, Alex, when you talked about, it's been 5 years and technology changes at the speed of light these days. And in addition to that, the complexities that operate this district and communicating and getting that information out all the time is even more and more important. I think that the work that you and your team have done in the past year under new leadership is certainly reflected, some substantial growth and just really creating great content around the information that we're sharing. So I certainly yield to your recommendations here and working with a company and an organization that you have aligned with. And personally, for me, from a business standpoint, I understand the impact of, that brand and marketing and maybe shifting that and the impact that that can have on our business or on my business, and in this regard, Dayton Public Schools. So I'm looking forward to, I think that we've long time had a mismatch of a lot of different logos and brands, and, I think we printed a brand page one day, and it is, yeah. So I look forward to the opportunity of something that reflects who we are, maybe honors our legacy to a piece, and look forward to the work. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute, so thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go on.
Yes, so I went ahead and looked up the org chart to see if you were here the last time we did it, and your name is on here. Were you involved with the process when they did the last one, and involved, like, I've seen your team's work, and I've seen your work, and I know how talented you are. So with the direction of, I think we have a WordPress
Yes,
type thing right
WordPress.
now?
Yeah.
Right. The level of involvement where you were 5 years ago versus now, like, I'm just gonna say that I'm hoping you're the person leading that part with the back end of it. I mean, I know the visioning is coming from multiple areas.
Right
but-
now, there's kind of an internal team made up of some cabinet members, kind of, at this time, it's very preliminary. We've kind of found some websites we like. We've kind of talked to them about what, maybe ours could look like. But the real detailed conversations, I think, would be cabinet, PIO, and those departments affected. So every department's page, we wouldn't just make that change for them. We're going to have to contact them and figure out, does this work for you? What is it missing that it could have? Just have those conversations because, like I said, HR, curriculum, some pages, they could really be upgraded. And then as far as the work last time, the project actually started my very first month at DPS. So I was involved, but
Okay,
not
you
as
just
much
got
as I
it.
probably would be now.
Fair enough, so,
Yeah.
I'm like, I just see you on there, and I'm like, yeah, okay, so,
Yeah.
all right.
Any other questions for Ms. Kincaid?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I want to know, will there be any community output for the page? Because, having that flexibility from not only people in the district, but people around it would be good.
I actually think that's a great idea. I think maybe we should have a survey that we could share with the community and ask them, what would you like to see more of? What do you go to our page for? And just kind of figure out how we can make that better for them too.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Kincaid.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do for the district. Any other questions on contracts? Seeing none. Next recommendation, Dr. Lawrence.
President Smith, I'd like the board to review the out-of-the-country field trip request for Stivers School for the Arts, which will be up for a vote next week.
Thank you. Any questions? Dr. Goodwin?
More of a request. I know we did, in the last 2 years, Stivers has gone. Can we get some update on how those trips are going? I know they took some pictures. We just see a little something.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. I'll make a note to get with,
It is, it's the photography students, so there should be pictures.
I mean, as always, I really hope that one day we see some of our other schools also making similar requests, so,
That's a good one. That's in the works as we speak.
even if they just go to Chicago, I'll be happy for them.
You Chicago?
Just go somewhere.
We got you. So yes, we'll follow up on that.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Walker. Oh, no, then first you, then Mr. Walker. Yeah,
Okay.
That's what I was like.
You see, this Peru trip is looking like college level. I want to know, is there a way for other schools to request this type of trip?
I mean, I just did my own research, and it looks like that there were 3 teachers that put this together, Stivers teachers, so. But you go ahead.
So yes, there are other opportunities, and I'm actually going to, now that we're talking about this, idea just came to me. When we have Student Senate next week, this will be on the agenda to talk to you and your other peers about in terms of going out of the country, and whether that's an opportunity they would like to see, or if they're interested or not. I'm sure they probably are, but I'd love to hear the conversation with you and your peers next week.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence.
More than welcome.
I got one more comment for you.
Mr.
Oh,
Walker
go ahead.
first, then Dr. Goodwin.
My bad.
Thank you. I'm more so interested in our, excuse me, middle school students. I see a lot of districts that the middle school scholars actually go in-state trips or in United States trips to Chicago, DC, or something like that as a class trip option, and just seeing if that can be explored for our middle schoolers as well to, again, look at the overall, what we offer our students.
So, Board Member Walker, there's been like 2 phases. The first phase was when we got on board and our, the leadership team became whole in like August, September-ish. The push was to say, hey, in a general sense, let's just take more field trips. Let's just get out of the building, because we didn't have a chance to really plan for some of those long-term things. And we are on record pace for field trips. So we're getting out of the building a lot and doing field trips. The next step is, these overarching, broad, deep enrichment trips that you and Dr. Goodwin are speaking about, and that'll take us some time to plan. But it's in our draft, as we say, next year plans.
Since we put requests out there, I just wanted to see if I can get some more requests accomplished. Also, some of the college tours and things like that, I know we have some small pockets that kind of do HBCU tours. I went to a PWI. I want to see our kids exposed to both of them, as well as Ivy League as well. If there was just some possibility that we could try to put these type of tours together for our kids to be able to see a little bit more. I know some of our counselors do like a smaller scale of the things that are in the Dayton area. But that type of exposure, I mean, when you see more, then you start believing you can do more. So if there's anything that the Board of Education can do to support those type of initiatives, I'm just gonna speak for us and say, I don't see anyone telling you, like, no, we don't want kids to go to college and check that out. It would just be weird for us to do that. But I would love to see us try to get some more exposure for our kids throughout the district, not just individual schools, but as a joint effort to just show them more of HBCUs, PWIs, Ivy League, trade school, all those different options that may be available to them that they don't really know, because they depend on us to tell them about it, so.
Hey, that's good feedback, Dr. Goodwin, and we'll take it. I see Dr. Gale's head shaking over there. We got it.
Yes, I definitely appreciate this conversation. Appreciate hearing it from a student perspective as well. And I would ask that like we look at some of the opportunities that are afforded to students that are not in our district. And if we're looking at how do we not only give our students those opportunities, but really look at what, if we're being honest, the competitors of our public education, which are charter schools, parochial schools, and the like, and seeing what they do and seeing some of the things that they're able to do. I think it's worthwhile to look at that. I know we're always in this perpetual fight between charters and parochial schools at the state level when we talk about funding and things, but there are things at other schools that I think are worthwhile looking at. You know, even if you look at some of the things, the immersion that other schools are allowing students to do. You look at, you know, you take a kid from Miami Valley School, even at the elementary level, they're doing week-long immersions. So looking at those kind of pieces where, how do we even just look at that? Even if it's at a local level where we see, okay, let's uproot our kids from being in this classroom for this week and seeing how can we just take some time to get out, which I understand, and I know Mr. Anderson is doing his thing at transportation to make these kind of things a possibility. And I appreciate it, because I think it's a transportation piece really does play a part, but then also getting with our partners. You know, there are partners we have that have vans. We have van training. We have those kind of things. So just looking at that, and I appreciate this conversation around how do we allow our students across this district to be in different areas of the world, in different areas of the country, in different mindsets and different experiences. Because we always say it, you can't be it unless you see it. But, you know, that is a real thing. Like, how do we open up our students' minds? So I would just give that over to you, Dr. Lawrence. I do think it's worthwhile for us as a district to just look at what are some of the options that we can do, how can we get out the box, and let our students have some different experience while they're here in DPS.
Thank you, President Smith, and we will move forward with that. This is exciting to hear the board really dive into this. Hey, we're about experiences, so we'll move forward with that for sure.
I got one more for you.
Sure.
Because I hate for when Miss Kidd tells us about her past life, and I think her time with us is supposed to be the best time of her career. And in the past, she took Student Senate to Atlanta and New Orleans on college tour. So we can't let that be her only stories about our kids being exposed to college and her time with the Board of Education. It bothers me.
Well, Miss Kidd and I graduated the same year, and we were actually in school for a little bit together at Stivers, and I certainly would take that and run with it. Tommy, would you like to talk about some of your student senate experiences? How are they going? What's your exposure been like?
Right now, it's just been, seeing that recently we went to the Kettering like main base where we talked to people how that was going. I think it was good. I know at our school we have went to State House multiple times, seeing how council members think. I think we seen our mayor also, which was recently. We seen him at Sinclair. So I know a couple people at my school. We go to the Sinclair Upward Bound and Central State Upward Bound, and they take us all around the country. The Upward Bound program is amazing, and I hope more students can go out of their way to get involved in those programs.
You hear that, Miss Kidd? All around the country.
Right. All right. Moving on. I'd like the board to consider for review 2 agreements, F and G, OPSI Local 191, OTPT, and the interpreters Local 766.
Noted. Are there any questions, non-executive questions from the board? Seeing none.
And then the education affiliation agreement for Ohio State, that is Section H. That was on the review session, I think last month, and it never made it to the vote session. So we put it back on here, and we can vote today or we can vote next week. It doesn't really matter.
I move that we accept the recommendation.
Second.
It's moved by Dr. Goodwin, seconded by Ms. Wick. Are there any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
8 yeses.
This concludes your recommendations, Dr. Lawrence.
This does conclude my recommendations.
Thank you, sir. Madam Treasurer, your first recommendation, please.
My recommendation is for review. I recommend the board approves the following temporary interfund, moving advances from general fund to the ESSERS fund to cover the negative cash balance until we get reimbursed for $710,029.
Any questions? Your next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
The next one is a monthly financial report for December. This is a placeholder until we meet with the Finance Committee on Thursday, and it's going to be approved on Tuesday.
My apologies, Madam Treasurer. Could you repeat that? That is on me.
Monthly financial report for December. This one is a placeholder until it's reviewed with the Finance Committee on Thursday, and it's going to be approved next Tuesday.
I have a quick question for you. Since we technically don't have the committee individuals, will you guys still meet? Because we don't get the committee people until next Tuesday.
Okay.
I just want you to be prepared for that. I know we
Okay.
fall into it every year.
Okay. We'll discuss later on.
Next recommendation?
Board minutes. This is for review too. I don't think you'll have a question, but the minutes are for December 4th, December 12th, December 18, and December 19.
Okay. See no questions, your next recommendation?
Next one is I have donations, which we love. Donations from Comparable Club, $450 for McKinney Vento. Another one is Dr. Kenneth Hayes, $520 for Fairview, Rosa Parks, and DPS parents. Thank you so much.
Your next recommendation?
Okay, my next one is purchase requisitions. I have several of them from different departments. Let's look, and if you have any questions, we'll ask.
On board, I ask that you look over the purchase requisitions, and if you have any questions, you can ask them now, or if you have any questions after the meeting, make sure you get with our staff to make sure those questions are asked in advance of our next meeting. No, these are not for a vote. Are there any questions right now? Dr. Goodwin?
More of a comment, I'm excited to see that you guys are bringing on IXL. Mr. Callaway has been talking about this program since I've been on the board. I personally use it with my teenager, who, we don't play those games. So I'm excited to see it there, and it is at both the 9th to 12th grade. Question on it, are we also going to take advantage of the ACT and SAT prep that are within the IXL program? I don't know if that's in our plan or not, but.
Yeah, I'll have to defer to the associate superintendent. I'm not sure.
Yes, we are going to take advantage of that to make sure students are prepared and have that opportunity.
Okay. Since it doesn't offer the science part of it, do we have something else we can utilize for that? And I only know this because I'm currently using it right now. I'm trying to find that science supplement because it doesn't go beyond 8th grade science in the program.
There are other programs that we have that may have that science piece that I'll have to investigate and get back with you. We also have Apex Learning in the district, and it has multiple things. It has test preparation, and I'll check on the science.
Okay. And this one, the 1,725 students, is that for all of our students, or are these students spaced out some type of way?
I think it's targeted for those students under the who's listed in there. I think it's under, I don't have it in front of me, but the career tech is part of it.
Yeah, it says NPSS, but we'll respond.
I'll get back with you on that.
Oh, I'm looking at the second one under it. The 9th grade ones, I'm looking at the 9th through 12th, yeah, that one. That one, what actually, what group are we looking at there? So,
We'll follow up with an email.
Get more information,
More information.
detail on how we're using that.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for our associate superintendent before she makes her seat? Just wonder. I don't want her to have to make another journey. Looks like you're safe. Any other questions on purchase requisitions? Mr. Walker.
Thank you. I guess I'm curious on the curtains for Belmont when you have principals and SROs in the building. They can't prevent students from going underneath the bleachers?
Ms. Powell, you want to speak to that? We talked about it, but I think you have more detailed knowledge of it than I do.
Those are
some nice
expensive
curtains.
They must be silk and everything.
Nice curtains right there.
And how's the curtains?
So the question regarding the curtains at Belmont, if you've been there to the school, you know the ends of the bleachers are open. Students like to sneak and hide, and they've caused some damage. We've had to do some repair to the bleacher system. These curtains are fixed. They extend out when you pull the bleachers out, but it stops people from getting underneath there. It's a safety thing. It protects our equipment, but it protects the students as well.
Question. Has this been an experience at just Belmont, or do you see any of this happening at the other schools as well?
I see it at other schools as well. Belmont has a very large section of bleachers.
Yeah, they have that weird U shape.
The U shape is where a lot of the damage is, and so we thought that that would be the best place to protect first, but certainly wouldn't be our only option. I believe it's open at the end opponents. I think Thurgood's is open also.
Dunbar's.
So, yeah, it's something we would look to see if it helps cut down on the vandalism, on the amount of debris, trash, everything underneath there.
Mr. Walker and then Dr. Gowan.
So I guess I'm a little bit confused when each buildings have cameras and staff that can monitor students of why do we need to purchase curtains as an alternative?
You mentioned the dead zones, that's true, but when you have a large event and there's lots of activity that's taking place, there's not any one person standing looking at the camera. Certainly if an issue comes up and we can narrow it down to a certain time frame, we can definitely go back and review the cameras to see exactly what happened.
I get that. I guess I'm confused when principals request a excessive amount of SROs for events, and principals are at their buildings for these events. I guess I'm lost on the need for the curtains.
All right, so not saying that the curtains are specifically drawn upon by events taking place. There are classes that take place in the gyms, after-school activities. There are times when there may be one adult, and that goes down to more building management, less on operations. We're trying to protect student safety and trying to protect our equipment as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think your line of questioning, I want to honor and respect it and say that we have had conversations in operations and academics about monitoring and measuring the amount of vandalism, and we align it with adult supervision. And so we're actively not only having that conversation, but doing security audits. And then Ms. Dooley and Ms. Minor have been out to meet with principals, and so has just Chief Wright. So I hear you.
Yeah, and I would say, I think even when in our buildings, on a regular day, you have, at Belmont, you have 3 SROs, and if we're gonna keep, there's a lot going on. Being in the high school building, going over and seeing, it's a lot of movement around, a lot of moving pieces. I've seen where the gyms have been that alternate space for kids during lunch, and so I appreciate the thought, but I definitely understand that it's just simply not enough people to, even if we're watching those things, I think we do need to start having some thought around how do we protect our spaces, but then how do we protect our children? Because that is a space. And then just thinking of that building, the way it's constructed, you get down in there, you're only getting out by coming back around through the edge of the bleachers again. So I understand that, and it's one of those things I think coming up with you guys working with the principals, working with Chief Wright to kind of figure out what's the best thing for it. So appreciate that. Any other questions, Dr. Goodwin?
Yes, the timeline for the boiler replacement, if approved, is this for vote today?
No.
But does that one need to be for vote, since it says that they don't have hot water?
For Stivers?
For Stivers.
So that was a warm, safe, and dry. The boiler for the hot water went down right after students and staff left for the Christmas break, so that was an emergency.
So you guys did do it already, or you haven't done it?
It's done.
Oh, okay, never mind. On here, it say they don't have hot water, so I'm like, hey.
At the time, yes,
Okay.
but we made sure it was done when
So-
everybody came back.
So is that more of a
So
then
would
and
that be, I
now?
was gonna say, would that then be a then and now?
and not a purchase request since it's already done? Did you already pay them?
I'd have to look
Have we
into
paid them
that.
yet?
I don't know.
Okay, can someone check to see if that should
Yes.
possibly be in then and now instead
Yes.
of a purchase request? All right, I'm good.
Mr. Dr. Bailey.
Yeah, Cassandra jumped over me with something else, so I want to go back to the curtains. How are these curtains preventing them from getting up under the bleachers?
So they are fixed to the rails coming down from the sides, and they are fixed, so there's no way that, unless there's vandalism, you cannot get underneath the bleachers.
Are they able to be cut or anything like that, or is these like,
They are able to be cut. It is a vinyl product. However, if the students are behaving as they are supposed to, it's a deterrent. They would physically have to make a conscious effort to destroy.
and then after they do, if they do that, then what is the consequences of them destroying that property?
I can speak to that as a former principal. It ranges from restitution to paying, to suspension, and depending on the amount and type of damage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Then Ms. Reiner.
I see that we have these vape detectors. I would like to know, how will they be set up? Like, how are they, or is it class to class, or is it in certain hallways?
And if I could piggyback on that, thank you so much for raising that. That was what my questions were about as well, too. I would like to throw it to the discussions. When we last saw this on the agenda, there was a desire for policy committee to look at this technology as well as the other technology. Has there been any update? Why is there only vape detectors in 2 schools? Has there been any progress in the, the concerns that we had about the audio recognition technology that was being implemented and being proposed by this company?
Where we left off in policy, it actually got kicked to legal to give us that framework. So the December meeting, it was stated to the committee right there that the paperwork would come back from legal on that one, and that discussion there would start from where they gave us the framework, so we can cater it to them. So legal's been working on that part of it, and it is supposed to be up this year for that group to do it, but there hasn't been anything because legal's been working on it. And they've been taking into account the things that have been happening at the city of Dayton with, I believe we have one of the similar vendors, the license plate readers. So they have been taking what they've seen happen over there as well as with the vape to try to craft a policy or a starting point for us on that policy. So that's where that is.
And thank you very much, Dr. Goodwin. Superintendent, is there anything that you wanted to add? It looks like you've got something to say.
Yeah, I think there's principals that are requesting this. There's some that don't want it, some that want it. I think we still have some work to do. I'll just say that.
Thank you, appreciate it. Did that answer your questions?
Oh, it did, but I do have another one. I see that we have these vape detectors, but we do morning checkups and all that. I want to know, how do they get through security with the metal detectors, and how does that work? 'Cause
That's a great question.
Yes, that's a great question. So, do you remember this morning? Do you remember who you saw this morning in your class?
I do not.
That was me.
All right.
Yeah, we were together. And students, when they come in, I saw them come in through the front door. They come through the metal detector, but we don't always have people at that detector to check students when they come in. We check to see if something goes off, but then it's not always a bag check. So we have to clean up some safety and security issues. But also, you know how ingenious you and your colleagues are. I mean, really?
You remember the Yoder pouches of
How y'all get
20?
them phones in school?
22?
Hey, I thought of a lot of things at Thurgood Marshall. Then I became a part of ROTC to get my stuff in the building. Just put that out there.
That's right. You came
I see Ms.
right
Goins
on.
lifting her head up.
6 o'clock?
I'm worried about him. Any other questions on purchase requisitions? I would request that, Dr. Lawrence, if we can have a conversation, maybe around with the principals from Dunbar and Wright Brothers, and then also have Chief Wright loop us in on those and talk about where that is. Because I'm seeing that, I would want to hear from the principals as well as their rationale for saying that they would need this in their buildings. That would be my ask. Any other questions?
Sorry, one last question. I see that this is grant dollars, so is there a deadline that this has to be decided on and spent?
That was one of the conversations that I had with Chief Wright, where there was a grant deadline for the funds to do this as well. So that's why I wanted to have him come in and explain some of the conversation around it too.
Well, we've already approved this.
Yeah, it's already been approved.
Yeah, this is like a secondary approved to go there, but we approved it prior to us having individuals come out. That was the second time of splitting it up for a second approval. So hopefully we don't run into any deadlines if we've already
Yeah, 'cause
encumbered the funds to do those type of things.
the grant was
We-
basic. I'm sorry, Dr. Gilmore, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying this is just us at this point figuring out the implementation, I hope.
So for Mr. Bailey and for Mr. Walker, there was a grant that came, it was a safety grant. And there were different things under that grant that the district could do, safety and security could do with that. And this and the other, what was that? It was the vape detection and the readers.
License plate reader, and
Those-
just to add on to yours, it was specific things that we had to do something that we didn't already have.
Right,
So which made us qualify for it, and this is purely from the state of Ohio safety grant.
right, correct. So, and if so, I think that would be good too. They could reach out to have a conversation with Mr. Walker and Dr. Bailey to kind of let them know where these things were and how we got to this point.
Consider it done, and also in consideration of your comments and Board Member Reiner, even though we've already approved it, there's still some other conversation out there that I'm sure you probably want to hear.
Appreciate that, sir. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, your next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
Okay, this one is another purchase requisition for a vote. I recommend the approval of the following purchase requisition, which is for Centennial.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and second. Do we have any questions on the motion?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Okay, so I think we're doing a one-year contract already for the 2.9 million, but then we're giving them 101,000 as well?
Yeah, this was part of the changeover, the transition. So there was going to be a transition fee no matter what vendor we went with. Like this is, yeah, that is just the cost of how business works. Yeah.
So a part of that setup fee, one of the things they do is they connect into our systems, which we can't have them do just yet. That's what we're waiting on, to make sure the old provider is offboarding properly. So they are removed access from all the systems. That is what that fee is for.
Okay, and so initially, the first-year contract is over $3 million.
Shouldn't.
Yeah, it's 2.9, I think. And
Yeah,
then
but when
that
you-
is the-
I think when you add that, yes.
When you add that in, so initially for the first year do you know, what are we paying what did we pay the provider that's no longer?
I can tell you that before,
It's more.
it was almost $5 million per year, plus other things
Plus
that we
add-ons.
now are finding out about now, in excess of $5 million. So this is $2 million cheaper, and it gets cheaper each year if we stay with Sentinel Technologies. And it allowed us the space to be able to have those 4 other technology positions that we have that are internal now, because we didn't have internal folks before.
So, and then from my research from previous years, the previous provider kept getting a renewal every year. But I just want to make sure that the product now from this company is going to be more useful and it's not wasteful spending.
The previous provider for almost 2 decades was unsupervised, and you're absolutely right. Got renewal after renewal after renewal. I would suggest that this board is far more active, and we have a technology committee that's really engaged, and I don't see that being the case now. Also, we have our internal people as well. We didn't really have those before, and I'm looking at James now shaking his hand saying we'll we'll make sure that there's some fidelity with this new Sentinel Technologies. They've already started off in a great space.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote? Thank you for both for answering those questions.
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
and Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The last recommendation, Madam Treasurer?
My last one is then and now. I have one for maximum health care.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
You're just saying that this was not boarded last month? Is that it?
It wasn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions? Seeing none, this concludes your recommendations, Madam Treasurer.
Yes.
All right, thank you, thank you. Moving to new business. Has everyone refreshed their screen? Ms. Kidd, was there anything else that we need to refresh for?
No, as long as you have C, board member travel.
Okay. Does everybody have that on their screen? All right. And so, first thing we have is a contract for interim business manager. It is up for a vote. I'll take a motion.
I recommend we approve the contract with the interim business manager for Tiffany Powell at the rate of $140,000, effective from the date she was appointed, November 21st, 2023.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any
Who
questions?
seconded?
Mr. Walker,
Mr. Walker?
did you second, Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Yes. Did you also have a question, Mr. Walker?
No.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Next, we have a resolution. Want to direct you to our executive content. It is on there.
Make a comment, Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
Legal will be here next week to discuss both of those items.
Okay. So please take note, and as always, you can always reach out to our department as well. Next, board member travel and expense reimbursement. Ms. Kidd, is there this up for a vote? Do we have any information on it?
I can't. It's the National School Board Advocacy one. I'm the one that is requesting to go to this one. I don't know, did you request to go to this one too? Ms. Reiner?
No, not this
Okay.
one.
It was March, so yeah, this is the
Yes.
one I'm requesting. I don't know, I just had Ms. Kidd, so.
Do we need a vote for it today, Ms. Kidd? Oh, see.
Yes, it's at the end of the month.
Yep, it is at the end of the month. All right. So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and second. Any questions? Can we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
8 yeses.
All right. Now we'll go over, Madam Treasurer, did you have anything for new business?
Yes, I would like to welcome Board Member Bailey and Board Member Walker, and I look forward to working with them and to be a successful year. And another one is a good note. What I have is Fitch rating. They gave us our rating. The same rating like what we had the last year, which is A, with stable outlook. This is a good one for our organization. That's it.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer, and I appreciate the work that you and your team do. Go over to Mr. Walker.
Call on me, don't say nothing? Okay.
That's what we do.
New business.
What's your name?
So first, I do have a resolution on there for the board. This is with regards to the musical performances at basketball game, athletic events, and district-wide events. Students, parents, staff, coaches have expressed the need for something different. What is there? I guess a lot of people feel a certain way about it, and really have expressed the lack of appreciation for it. So wanted to put this resolution out there that gives them that option to utilize more student performances, and of course the Whitney Houston performance. And with that, that is on a public domain and has been used since it's been out since 1991 across districts throughout the United States. As an official myself, I've heard it at plenty of gyms and things like that, so wanted to provide this opportunity and this resolution for our athletics department and buildings to use this for their events.
Question, were you wanting the board to review this evening, or were you asking the board to vote on it this evening?
It can be either. I'm open to discussion.
Is there any discussion?
Yes,
Dr.
so
Goodwin.
I will say I do support this because we're already doing it for the most part. The only part, our goal when we uniform and we got a guy, he's from Stivers Middle School, who gave us the recording. Any school right now can sing or do something different. The default is the district's recording that we have the rights to. So that one that's that piece right there. We only see really Stivers take advantage of someone singing, playing the guitar, or doing other stuff. So I really hope more and more schools do it. The only part is I don't want to handicap us into, or not handicap, I don't want to limit us into utilizing an individual who also didn't go to this district or come from it. I would rather see something that because we have an arts place, I would rather see them, if they can create something for us, that's great, because I think if it comes out of this district, then you keep using it and you keep doing that piece of it. But everything else, they're already doing it, and we want to stay as uniform as possible, but still allow them the creativity of when their students, our families, our individuals are part of that community, step up to sing the national anthem or the Black national anthem, they are able to do it. So that is the only change that I would recommend to this one, is that part of, if we change from the one we have the rights to, that it always be something that was produced by a student or parent or some type of community movement person from this community, and it is still the standard floor and not the main thing that you do. If there's someone to sing, let them sing. Let them play an instrument. Let them do anything that allows them to be involved in this.
Yeah, and I think that would be the conversation that I think I would want to have with those that have expressed how they feel about whatsoever. I think that is one of the things I've seen. We had a gentleman who, unfortunately, we lost over the break. We'll send our condolences out to Stedman Wynn's family, but he was at a Meadowdale game when he sung this. So, I mean, we've had our staff sing this. Like I said, I've seen kids play the guitar, seen them play instruments, seen choir sing it. I've seen groups of people sing. So I wouldn't want us to then think that right now there is no allowance to do that. Also, would look at finding a way, this would be my thought on it, is finding a way, because I don't want to just have a resolution to say about the Whitney Houston performance when there's so many other performances as well. I get that, so if we're gonna open it, then open it. I think that's figuring out what we're going to do. So if we're gonna have a standard, fine. If we're gonna have it say whatever, do that. But I also think it's a building by building, and I think it's an athletics conversation of their space too. So I appreciate the conversation, and like Dr. Goodwin said, I do think that there's conversations that should be had around the latitude that we have now, because everyone does not take advantage of being able to be creative in that space. So we appreciate those that do, and want to encourage everyone else to kind of get out there and figure out how we can do this. I do think one of the things I do want to see is just our students learn the words to these too.
To both songs.
Yes.
Actually.
Yes, I think that was one of the things that I've seen that is a moving piece when you see, especially the Black National Anthem, and you see it at a game where it's almost a demarcation line of age, where you see some people, they're mouthing the words, and other kids are like, what song is this and what is it? So I think figuring that piece would be huge too as well. Anything else in the conversation?
I would love if Stivers, my bad, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I would love if any of our people could do a recording with the words to both songs. I think that is the part that is missing the most. Although I enjoy the saxophone and all that, I would love to hear the words at it. And if anyone watching this wants to volunteer to hop in the studio at Ponus with PIL, put them out there. We will greatly take you to do that piece right there.
Yeah, and I think for me with the resolution, it was allowing these buildings that option to use any variety of these songs, but highlighting as well that option that a lot of them expressed with going back to using the 1991 version, but also looking at their students recording songs and actually going out there and doing it themselves. And I agree, the words do need to be learned, because I have been to some athletic events, and it is something that is missed. So that was the push for this resolution, again, off of conversations received from parents, staff, coaches.
Yeah, one more.
Like to go on.
I'm going to recommend that we kick it to the athletic council, because what we've been doing over the last 2 years is trying to standardize practices here so that the start at every place is a similar time frame. And if that is the goal, to get it there, to figuring out that piece, even with concessions, with experience coming into the building, we have been moving into that you get a good experience no matter where you go. So that piece right there of ironing out farther how we can get those type of things and finding something that works, that covers that same time span at the beginning of the game, for no matter which game you go to. So that's my recommendation, to send it to the athletic committee to kind of iron out that piece of it.
Anything else?
That is all my new business.
Appreciate you. Glad to have you here, sir.
Oh, was I doing my comments now too?
Yes, that's part of new business.
My guy, you didn't say that. You
We need you to pay attention to these meetings, Mr. Walker.
see,
That's new business.
listen.
That's appreciation.
You know what? Thank you, President Smith. But no, just want to express my heartfelt thanks and appreciation to the residents of Dayton for electing me to this seat. Thank my family, my grandmother, mother, and father who are not here, passed away years ago, and really thank the students and staff of Dayton Public. I have had the opportunity to go out to, I think I'm at 13 buildings so far. I did go to River's Edge yesterday. A student told me to come outside so he can dunk on me, so I'm changing my shoes to go back. But also I did lunch duty yesterday at River's Edge, and I think I have 2 science fair judging opportunities coming up as well. So I appreciate everyone in the community for that. Thank you to my fraternity brothers. Today is the founding day of the greatest fraternity that has the only constitutionally bound sorority, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So thank you to them and the great ladies of Zeta Phi Beta sorority for coming out as well. And looking forward to being a part of this board for the next 4 years. And thank you to my family that is in Maryland, Alabama, and Georgia that watched online as well. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And as a person who visits basketball games frequently, I'm glad you're on the board, so you can no longer give us bad calls.
Now, some of them you earned.
Dr. Bailey.
Thank you, sir. I would first by saying, Mr. Walker, if I was you, I would not put your gym shoes on. If a kid tells you that he's going to dunk on you, I think I would not step on the court with him to get embarrassed. And I don't want you to embarrass our board by getting dunked on. But I really want to thank God first for allowing me to be here. I want to thank my family, my church, my friends, my job, for allowing me the leeway to do all the things that I had to do to get here. I am very appreciative of this position, to be in the purpose that I'm supposed to be in. I also want to thank the fraternity as well, the first fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, that set the standards, and by showing up here as well today. And I am really looking forward to working with each and every one of you. I want this to be a team. Doesn't mean that we're going to agree with each other all the time. Family never does. But I hope that we're here to respect each other in our decisions. And I am praying that we make the best decisions every day for our students, for our parents, and for our educators. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you all. Well, I do have a little bit more. Thank you all. Dr. Lawrence, I really want to thank you for setting a lot of the meetings up for me and Eric to meet a lot of the staff and getting to know them and all the administration. Miss Kidd and Miss
Leslie.
Yeah, Leslie. I was trying to think of her last name, but Miss Leslie, they've been awesome. So I really want to thank them as well. So I think that's about it.
Appreciate you, sir. Mr. Lacy.
No comment today, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Reiner.
I would just like to extend the most sincere welcome to Dr. Bailey and to Eric Walker. I am very much looking forward to you joining the work that we've been doing for a very long time. I had a really great conversation earlier today with a board member who served years and years and years ago. And I think quite often about the work of the people who have come before me and the work of the people that will come after me, and the gratitude that I have for people within this community who care for this city and who care for the school district. And I'm grateful to have you join us in that work.
Thank you. Dr. Goodwine.
Yes, I do want to say my thoughts and prayers are with the family of Stedman Wynn. He did sing in my church quite often, and it's always heartbreaking to see someone my age leave us far too soon. So definitely keeping, especially his family members that work in our district, his family and community that are around our district, we are keeping you lifted, and you're going through the unimaginable. And if there's anything that I can do, please let me know. I would also like to shout out the City of Dayton, the Urban League, and a host of other partners with their launch of the Earned Income Credit Tax Preparation. Any individuals who make $64,000 or less, there are about 8 sites throughout the City of Dayton, Trotwood, that you can go to get free tax preparation. Please take advantage of that. If you want information on that, just go to the city's website, DaytonOhio.gov, search tax thing, it's on there. It's also on their Facebook and all that, but it is a free tax preparation. It opens the January 23rd. Take advantage of it because, yes, why not? It's free. Let them help you out, get through that. They have several certified tax professionals that are doing that to help you out there. I want to give a shout out to, the greatest frat to walk God's green earth, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. It's the bros down there. And we are so blessed this year that not only on January 9th do we get to meet and celebrate and fellowship and bask in the blue and white, that we get to do it all over again on J16 for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And I'm going to get everybody on the day in something blue just so for a moment y'all can just feel just a little bit of greatness of what it's like to be with us. I know the alphas in here are just like, oh my gosh. It's tough, I know, being around all this. Frats and sororities that were founded at HBCU, so, it's different for us. I get that. Also, I want to give a shout out, which there's been a lot. Dayton has been in the news recently, and I am extremely proud that Cat Williams went to Dayton. I hope that there are people on our teams trying to figure out how to connect with him and give some of the publicity that's going towards him to invest in our kids in this district. Because anything that can bring something into our schools, that can help our schools, that can help our students know that it doesn't matter necessarily where you start out in life. It is about where you go next. So I'm excited that people are looking at us for something and they are trying to find out more about us. And I hope that more individuals from our district continue to go. Dayton is a very, very special place, and it holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts in the ways that we move throughout the world. It's just different than everybody else that's not from Dayton. And I can appreciate that. I can appreciate seeing that. Other than that, I'm excited for this new year. Welcome to both of you to the board. You are in for one of the wildest rides out here. We are the top show in town. We keep high ratings when it comes to people being engaged in public life, and I'm happy that people are able to not only reach each and every one of us down here at the Board of Education, but various sectors of the community. Stay involved, definitely take advantage of things that are happening. Reach out to any of us if you guys have anything. I'm excited for the year to start, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Goodwin.
Real quick, I did miss one thing. I did want to give a shout out to Miss Michaela Howard of Thurgood Marshall for scoring her 1,000th point yesterday at the Thurgood versus Meadowdale game. I think that's actually the second student at the Thurgood Marshall High School.
I have one more thing, so I'm
Did he
sorry.
say the?
He did say the. I do want to say that I am extremely, I stand behind everything that I saw go out from the administration regarding the protection of our drivers. And I am excited that we are going farther, because anything that protects anyone that works in this district, I am all the way behind. People should not have to go to work and not know how they're going to come home. So I'm excited that we are taking a harsher stand. I hope that it does something for us to really just change the behavior around the civil servants that work throughout this district, because they put in a lot to make sure people's kids come here, they're safe, and they get back home to get safe. And they should be able to do that peacefully as they go through work. So I was excited to see the announcement go out. I've been asking, and I'm just happy that we're doing something finally. It hurts my heart, and the driver is still in our prayers for the things that happened. And I hate that that incident had to happen before we were able to just take a more stern stance in protecting our individuals when they are out in the field. That's it for me now.
Thank you. You good, Mr. Walker? I'm good. All right. Ms. Wick.
Welcome to the new board members. I think they already feel the love. I'm really looking forward to working with everybody. Extremely proud of the work that we continue to do, extremely proud of this cabinet over here that continues to create great work, and superintendent, and humbled and grateful for the opportunity to serve as your vice president this year. So thank you to the team. I look forward to serving you in this capacity and doing what I can to help make us better. Thank you to our community. Keep sending your kids to school. I was told by our mayor, who is a former educator, that if our children attend school every day, if you just come to school every day, you will get at least a C. Just come to school every day and do the right thing. That means if you're coming to school every day, you're not getting expelled or you're not in trouble. Come to school, don't get in trouble, you'll get a C and your life will get better. So all of our parents out there that are watching, anything that we can do to help make it easier for your kids to get to school, please let us know. Please continue to come to meetings and speak to us. You have the most engaged board, I think, that I have had the privilege of working with, and I am really looking forward to continuing that engagement and that work. So thank you all so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Wick. Dr. Lawrence.
Thank you, President Smith. I would, of course, like to echo the welcome to Eric Walker, my former student. And you asked a lot of questions today. I did not get a break. I thought I would as your former principal, but I did not. And of course, brother, Dr. William Bailey, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I want to welcome you. I love what you said back to the basics, and you said, hey, we may not agree, but we're family, and they sometimes they don't. Ms. Reinert, I'm excited about not just that project, but the Promise Neighborhood project as well, and the several other kind of, I think, transformational things that we're working on to re-engage the district. Board Member Lacey, I'll see you at the gym tomorrow at 5. Okay. And congratulations, President Smith, and congratulations, Vice President Wick Gagne. And Dr. Goodwine, I'm going to try to clear my schedule to ride the bus with you. I heard you're pretty good.
Need you to sign a waiver.
Okay, I got you. Sign a waiver. And let me sign a waiver. I got you. And Meg Thomas, a special congratulations to you on an illustrious 42-year career, I believe it was. She's the principal at River's Edge, and let me tell you, she knows school. She is brilliant. I watched her out front one day as we sat, and every child walked by and gave her a hug. And she knew their names, she knew the kids, she knew the parents. It's been a pleasure for you to be with us in Dayton Public Schools, and we wish you the best in retirement. And we got your email, and some of our responses suggest that we may see you again. So thank you for your service. Government teachers today, we got a chance to hang out with government teachers at Meadowdale, Ponitz, Belmont twice, and so we thank you. Oh, and Stivers, can't forget that. So thanks for sitting down and talking to us. And to Shiloh Baptist and Calvary, thanks for having me the last couple weeks. And then Tommy, do you need a ride home today?
Yes, sir.
I got you.
Those conclude your remarks, sir?
Yes.
All right, appreciate you, sir. For me, first off, I want to say Happy New Year to everyone in this district. Hope everyone was able to get some rejuvenation over the break. Got a long haul to go. I first off want to lift up Miss Tiffany Powell. If she can stand up, want to recognize her as our business manager. I appreciate the work that she's done in our district. I appreciate the work you've done in your career, and I know that you have a lot of experience over there, and we wish you well. And from the comments we've heard from your team, they're very excited for you. I see Brother Lenny smiling already, so he say smiling because we want to break. Give him a couple days off. But I do want to lift you up and appreciate you being a part of our district leadership team. Want to say thank you to Dr. Lawrence and our treasurer for the work you guys do, for the work that your team do. Stay lifted up. I want to say that this year is a continuation. It's always weird we have this middle part where it's a new year, but it's still the continuation of a school year. And I just challenge everyone to really understand what we're facing. You know, this is a district. If we don't pay attention, we don't notice all the times, we've lost multiple children this year. And so understand that this district has lost multiple children. We've lost young staff members. We've lost people to violence. We've lost people to illness. There's so many things going on in our community that come into our school buildings, and I think it's going to take collaborative efforts to really get to the bottom of some of these. So I just want us to understand that there are so many things that we can fight with each other about that have nothing to do with our students and our staff and our community. And I think if we all put our focus there, we'll be much better off because we've got a lot to do. I think that means us putting ourselves to the side and putting the work in front of us. That is my charge. I appreciate this city that cast their votes to give me another 4 years to be here. I am highly appreciative. And in that, I did not run a large campaign. I did not go seek donations. I did not seek endorsements because I just talked to parents. I talked to students. I talked to people in the community. That's what I'm here for. I care less for anything else but to improve this district. I am proud to say that this is one of the first times in a while I've seen a district board with a majority of people who went to DPS. And you can see that. I want to be able to have children be able to see that these are people who came up in our neighborhoods. These are people who lived in our spaces. These are people who went to our schools, even if they didn't go to Meadowdale. I also want to lift up this district and those that have just personally kept me lifted up as I have gone through a lot the last month. I was not able to make a few meetings in December and November as I lost an aunt and my stepmom. And today was a hard moment, I will admit, seeing that at this swearing in, I realized that my mom, my dad, and my stepmom weren't here. And to lose all of them in that small period of time, anybody who's lost a parent, trust me, it is hard, especially when you lose them at moments where you think of times they were there. And so I just encourage everybody to keep their families lifted up, make every moment last, because you do not know which moment you're going to have again. So in that, I want to say keep everybody lifted up in this district, understand what we are here for. We are here for a greater charge than a check. We are here for a greater charge than public accolades or back and forths or anything else. If it has nothing to do with these children, if it has nothing to do with our staff, and it has nothing to do with improving our community, it shouldn't have any place in this district. And so we need to move forward with that. I appreciate everybody here. Appreciate Mr. Ezrati coming out and speaking, and hopefully those who were signed up to speak can come back out, because I want to hear from the community. I appreciate Dr. Lawrence getting out in the community, and I appreciate those who are open about what we need to do about this district to improve it. So with that, I would like to move to adjourn.
Second.
It has been seconded. Do we have, oh, hold on. Mr. Nichols. You got anything, Mr. Nichols?
I just want to say that I'm happy that an alumni from the best school in the district is president of the board.
Oh, Mr. Nichols.
Mr.
I like that,
Nichols.
Mr. Nichols.
Mr. Nichols, Mr. Lacy's board knocked down his school, so he really didn't go to the one you went to.
All right. May we have a vote to adjourn? And my apologies, Mr. Nichols.
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
and Mr. Nicholas.
Yes.
8 yeses.
8 yeses. Before I hit this gavel, I will be remiss to not lift up the work of our previous board president, Dr. Goodwin. I'd like to thank you for all the work that you have done and continue to do for our district. And with that, we're out of here.
That's it.
I'm requesting cards.